He had always been invisible in the eyes of the world, a boy who scrubbed floors and carried buckets and swept hallways, yet behind those quiet eyes burned a fire of brilliance and curiosity, a mind that hungered for puzzles and challenges, the kind of mind that could outthink kings and generals, and today's fate was about to put him to the test. Before we start, make sure you subscribe and hit like so you never miss stories that will blow your mind. The janitor's son walked through the polished marble hallways of the millionaire's mansion, clutching his worn backpack and trying to make himself as small as possible. The air smelled of expensive perfume and polished wood, and the laughter of the rich floated above him like a cloud. He tried to ignore the whispers and the chuckles of the staff, who thought it was funny that the son of the janitor had been invited to the mansion. As if it were some cruel joke, the millionaire, a woman known for her sharp wit and her love of games, had laughed when she saw the boy and said, "Come play chess," as a joke, as if she could imagine the boy's hands moving across the chessboard, as if he could even understand the pieces. She smirked, and the guests gathered, thinking this would be entertaining. The boy nodded silently, feeling the weight of every eye on him. He set his backpack down and walked to the chessboard. His heart pounded like thunder in his chest. The polished pieces glinted under the chandelier lights, and the boy felt a thrill of recognition. He had played countless games in his mind and in parks and on scraps of paper, yet never on a board like this one. Yet there was no fear, only anticipation. He studied the pieces silently, his mind already racing 3 moves ahead. She moved first, a confident queen advance. He countered with a knight that stunned her in the silence. The guests began to notice that his moves were deliberate, precise, almost impossible to predict. She smiled arrogantly, thinking he was lucky, yet every move he made was calculated, every step a trap, every sacrifice a lesson. She leaned forward, and the boy's eyes sparkled. She raised her eyebrows. She had underestimated him entirely. The laughter had faded, replaced by whispers and murmurs. This boy could think, he could anticipate, he could manipulate the game with a mind that no one had expected. Hours seemed to pass in minutes as the game unfolded. The millionaire moved her pieces with the skill of a master, but the boy responded with an intuition and strategy that seemed impossible. Every move he made seemed to anticipate her every thought, as if he could read her mind. The room held its breath. The guests leaned in closer, their whispers hushed by awe. Each piece he touched seemed to carry weight and purpose. He sacrificed pawns not out of weakness, but to set up traps and control the board with a precision that left even the most experienced players stunned. The millionaire smirked at first, confident that she would crush him with experience, yet every attempt to corner him or force a mistake fell into the careful web he had constructed. She raised her eyebrows in disbelief, her smirk fading into concentration. The boy's eyes sparkled with quiet confidence and determination. The flicker of a smile crossed his lips as he saw her hesitation. It was the first crack in her armor, and he pressed forward, carefully calculating each step like a grandmaster on a battlefield. She had never felt this way before. She had underestimated a boy who scrubbed floors and carried buckets and swept hallways. She realized too late that genius is often invisible until it chooses to reveal itself. The moves became faster, the tension thicker. The guests could hardly look away, their hearts pounding in unison with the boy's racing mind. He thought of every scenario, every trap, every potential outcome, like a storm swirling in his head. Yet calmness radiated from him, as if the chaos around him did not exist. The millionaire's hand trembled ever so slightly as she moved her queen forward. She realized that her arrogance had been her greatest mistake. She had treated this as a joke, and now the joke was on her. The boy smiled faintly, a smile that held no pride, only quiet satisfaction. He leaned slightly forward, his mind seeing 3 moves ahead, 5 moves ahead. He sacrificed a bishop to lure her king into a trap. The guests gasped, the air felt electric, and the millionaire felt a cold knot of panic. She had never faced an opponent like this, not in all her years of playing chess. She tried to compose herself, yet the boy's moves were relentless, elegant, and unstoppable. Each piece he moved like a conductor guiding an orchestra. Each sacrifice a symphony of strategy. She faltered, and for the first time, she doubted herself. The tension in the room was palpable. She realized that this boy, who had always been invisible in the eyes of the world, had quietly become the center of it. Minutes stretched like hours. The board became a battlefield of intellect and wit. She tried to predict his moves, but the boy had anticipated every single one. His pawns formed impenetrable walls. His knights danced in patterns she could not see coming. His rooks cut off escape routes like swords of steel. Every counter she attempted fell into a trap carefully woven from his mind. He made the impossible possible. He turned disadvantage into advantage. He turned despair into triumph. The millionaire could only watch her carefully constructed plans unravel like threads in the wind, and she realized that brilliance knows no boundaries. It does not ask for permission. It simply exists, waiting to be discovered, and today, it had been discovered in the janitor's son. The final moments approached. The tension unbearable, the queen faced the king, and there it was, the inevitable checkmate. A move so elegant and precise that even the millionaire could not comprehend How he had seen it coming, her hands hovered over the board, paralyzed she stared at him, speechless for the first time in her life, defeated, humbled, and yet strangely inspired. The room erupted in stunned silence, whispers of awe and admiration, spreading like wildfire, every guest realizing they had witnessed something extraordinary. The janitor's son had not just won a game of chess, he had shattered expectations, broken stereotypes, and claimed respect that had always been denied to him. His brilliance had been hidden for too long, yet now it shone bright, unstoppable, radiant, and undeniable. The millionaire rose from her seat, her eyes glistening. She extended her hand and apologized sincerely for ever doubting him, for underestimating him, for seeing only the surface. She acknowledged his genius and offered mentorship, friendship, and guidance, yet the boy remained humble. He shook her hand quietly, his mind already turning to the next challenge. The lessons he had learned, the struggles he had endured, the hardships he had overcome, all fueled his determination. He would never forget where he came from. The halls he had swept, the floors he had scrubbed, the nights he had spent studying in silence. He had transformed pain into power, fear into focus, and invisibility into brilliance. The story of the janitor's son became a legend whispered in the mansion, taught as a lesson for humility, perception, and the limitless power of the human mind. He had proven that the heart and mind together could achieve greatness, that social status, wealth, or appearances did not define true genius, and that sometimes the quietest person in the room carries the loudest strength. From that day forward, opportunities opened doors, invitations arrived, offers of scholarship, mentorship, and global recognition, yet he never let the fame change him. He continued to study chess every day, refine his skills, practice in parks and small rooms, help other children who were overlooked and ignored. He inspired a generation. He became a symbol of hope, proof that brilliance can emerge from the most unexpected places, and that courage, resilience, and intelligence can defy the harshest expectations. He carried his past with him, but it never weighed him down. It propelled him forward. He had become a master of his craft, a master of himself, and a reminder to the world that talent is not always visible, yet when revealed, it is impossible to ignore. The millionaire, who once invited him as a joke, became a lifelong friend, ally, and supporter. Together, they created programs to find hidden talent, to nurture the unseen, to champion the underestimated, and the world watched as a boy who had once been invisible rose to inspire millions. If this story inspired you, make sure to subscribe, hit like, and share so more people can see that brilliance, courage, and perseverance can come from the most unexpected places. Remember, no matter where you start, your mind, your heart, and your determination can change the world and turn even the smallest spark into a roaring fire.